Hey guys, Ashen here, and welcome to this Elden Ring video on how to build builds. Today we are looking at intelligence builds. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, and join and follow me on Discord, Twitch, and TikTok. Links in the description. Now, as you all know, there are countless builds out there, all pre-made and ready for us to respec to, but with constant patches and things being nerfed and buffed, I wanted to learn how to create base build templates for any of the major stats. So, for a base template of any intelligence build, we are going to cover the following. Stat goals, affinities, recommended staves, recommended sorceries, recommended weapons, ashes of war, showcasing all the above in action, and finally the pros and cons of an intelligence build. Okay, here's my stat spread to start. Vigor 60, Strength 16, Dexterity 22, and Intelligence 80. This will give us decent survivability and access to a nice range of weapons. Stats like Mind, Endurance, and Arcane will be down to how you're playing. Next up, affinities. There are two to focus on, magic and cold. The magic affinity will cause raw more damage, but cold can inflict frostbite, which stuns, debuffs, and deals percentage-based burst damage, so it's all down to your playstyle. There are two optimal staves for most intelligence builds, Lusat's Glintstone Staff and the Carrion Regal Scepter. Lusat's Glintstone Staff gives sorceries 10% more damage, but spells cost 50% more FP. And Carrion Regal Scepter provides excellent sorcery scaling without the additional FP cost. The Carrion Regal Scepter also boosts full moon sorceries, and comes with a unique, much deadlier version of the spinning weapon skill. Whilst we're on the subject of staves, I really do need to mention the Meteorite Staff and Azur's Glintstone Staff as well. The Meteorite Staff can be picked up at the very beginning of the game. It cannot be upgraded, but it already comes with S scaling for intelligence. This makes it a fantastic weapon option for early to late game. It also boosts gravity sorceries, which is great as we're going to cover the Rock Sling sorcery later. If you'd like to know how to get this staff and the spell straight away, check out my video here. Finally then, Azur's Glintstone Staff. This is where things get interesting. The speed at which you cast sorceries is based on how high your dexterity is, and 70 dexterity is the cap for cast speed. So if you put Azur's Glintstone Staff in your offhand, it works out as the equivalent to 40 dexterity. Then, equip the Radagon Icon Talisman for the equivalent of 30 dexterity. With these two in place, you can achieve maximum cast speed without wasting levels on dexterity. Right, sorceries. And let's be honest, there are so many, but let's start by looking at a few spells which span the different type pools that I think are worth mentioning. First up is Ranni's Dark Moon, a full moon sorcery. Now there's a lot going on with this despite its slow cast time. The spell not only damages the enemy, of course, but it also builds up frostbite, which can sometimes pop immediately. And there is one more tasty treat Ranni's Dark Moon has to offer. When it hits an enemy, it will reduce their magic defense by 10%. Now if you hit an enemy with it and it causes frostbite, this can boost the enemy's reduced magic defense by up to 30%. Next is Rock Sling, a gravity sorcery. Now Rock Sling is getting a mention because you can get it at the very start of the game, and it can carry you through so much. It does great stagger damage to enemies, and even bosses can be left with broken poise after just 2 or 3 hits. As just mentioned, it can be picked up early at the start of the game with the Meteorite Staff, which boosts its power. Next is the Bloodhound Step and Corpse Piler of sorceries, Comet Azur. This primeval sorcery is very popular and well known, and quickly got the reputation of being able to melt bosses in one long blast. Well, for that I feel it deserves a mention. The simple fact is Comet Azur is really popular despite splitting opinions, and is still best used with the Cerulean Hidden Tear and Terra Magica for a continuous, devastating torrent of melt. Next is Carrion Slicer, a Carrion sorcery. Carrion Slicer deals high damage per second at maximum cast speed with a very low FP cost. Then we have Carrion Piercer, another Carrion sorcery. Carrion Piercer deals heavy single hit damage and causes many enemies to stagger. Now, this next sorcery isn't an attack spell, it's a buff spell, Terra Magica. With this, you place a sphere down on the ground, and as long as you are stood in it, it will boost your magic damage by 35%. This spell also stacks with the Magic Shrouding Cracktear as well. And finally, last but by no means least, Glintstone Pebble, a Glintstone sorcery. This is the Astrologer class's starting spell, and it's a fantastic little starter sorcery. It's been recently buffed like most spells. It can be cast quickly, has low FP and intelligent cost, and light tracking. Okay, so here are the rest of the sorceries I want to mention. Swift Glintstone Shard, Shard Spiral, Glintstone Arc, Stars of Ruin, Magic Glintblade, Loretta's Great Bow, a Jeweler's Moonblade, Night's Comet, and Meteorite of Astel. Alrighty, up next, recommended weapons, we have Glintstone Kriss, Death's Poker, Darkmoon Greatsword, Wing of Astel, Moonveil, and Bastard Stars. Okay, and then quickly moving on to the Ashes of War, I'd recommend Glintstone Pebble, Glintblade Phalanx, Carrion Grandeur, Waves of Darkness, Ice Spear, and Hoarfrost Stomp. Right, now that we've covered all this housekeeping, let's showcase some of the loadouts melting away bosses. For this first one, I'm simply testing out the previously mentioned staff loadout with some sorceries. I'm using talismans which increase my sorcery attack power in general, and which speed up my casting time. In the physic, I'm boosting magic damage and intelligence. Okay, for this loadout then, let's try Comet Azur with Lusat's Headpiece, which boosts primeval sorceries, and we'll use damage boosting talismans and physic with the no FP cost for 15 seconds, thanks to the Cerulean Hidden Tier. Let's get Golden Vow and Flame Grant Me Strength involved as well to see what we can do. And finally with this one, just mixing it up with Ranni's Darkmoon and bringing the Moonveil Katana into play. Okay, nice. So some bosses melted and plenty of options for you guys to explore. Love it. Finally then, the pros and cons of an intelligence build. The pros are extremely powerful spells, high damage, and low equip load. The cons are low defenses and low poise. Alrighty, there you have it, my friends, my How to Build a Build intelligence guide. Let me know what you're doing with intelligence builds in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!